others to other groups, because this is particularly important for us as we continue to navigate all of the changes that have happened throughout the pandemic. So I just thank you all for your interest today, and I again apologize for my late arrival. So we're going to talk about 10 healthy strategies to help us to plan, shop, and eat mindfully as we continue to navigate all of the changes that are happening during the pandemic. So a quick poll question, and if you just want to type your answer into the chat box, I'm just going to kind of monitor it there. So do you think that you are eating mindfully more often, less often, or the same compared to before the pandemic? So actually, it looks like the poll has been pulled up, so thank you for that. So more often, less often, or about the same as compared to before the pandemic. And I know we're probably in good practice now. We've been at this almost a year. So hopefully we have been able to kind of ease in and make some good changes. So, okay, so thank you. So it looks like that most of us are eating mindfully less often compared to before the pandemic. And I think we're probably in the majority with most of the world in the fact that this pandemic has really changed so much about our daily life, including our eating patterns. So we're just going to talk about, again, what are some ways that we can eat a little bit more mindfully. And so the first thing that we talk about in both of our programs, which I'm going to talk a little bit about at the end of the presentation, is to plan healthy meals by selecting recipes for 7 days. Most of us are eating at home more often than we did prior to the pandemic. If we are eating out, it's by takeout. And so in some ways, it's carved out a little bit more time for us to be able to plan our meals. And so a couple of different websites that I just wanted to point out are Allrecipes.com and Supercook.com. These are two recipes that no matter what you have in your refrigerator or in your pantry, you can type a number of different things into those sites. Like I have whole wheat pasta, I have chicken, I have spinach, and I have, Italian dressing. And you can put in those different things, and what it will do is it will populate recipes that contain all of those different ingredients. So those are two really, really useful sites that I use quite often, allrecipes.com and supercook.com. The other two recipes are specific to our program team here at NC State. ESMM Prevent Diabetes is another website which has a lot of really good healthy recipes on it, as well as the medinsteadofmeds.com website. And so that website is unique in the sense that all of those recipes have been tried and tested. A lot of them were developed in the research kitchen at Brookhaven. And we put together those recipes. It was formed by a team of registered dietitians, and all of that based on the evidence around the Mediterranean eating pattern that has been shown to have so many health benefits by following a diet that's high in whole grains, high in fish like salmon, high in fruits and vegetables, low in red meat, low in saturated fat and processed foods and sugary beverages. And red wine on occasion is also a component, and exercising and eating with a group and with with your family. So, and not on the run. So that website is a great one for being able to just kind of, there's probably close to 100 recipes on it now, and they're categorized based on appetizer, main dish, dessert, breakfast, salads, soups, things like that. And so that's another really good recipe that I would highly recommend that you check out. Another thing that we use in the programs are a meal planner and shopping list. And this is actually one of the incentive items that we give out for the Eat Smart, Move More, Prevent Diabetes program. But if you, and actually this is also available on our website, esmmpreventdiabetes.com. You can download this page and then print it off as many times as you like. And the idea here is that you have picked out what you're going to make during the week. So cook this, so you would have your recipe there, and then buy that. So you would itemize all of the items that you would like to purchase in order to make that recipe. So you would go through your pantry, your refrigerator, figure out what you already have, then decide what you still need, and then put that on your list. And then you're prepared when you go to the grocery store. So just some tools to help with more grocery shopping. The second tip is to buy a variety of fruits and vegetables, including fresh, frozen, and canned. And this was particularly pertinent in the beginning of the pandemic, when you would go to the grocery store and it would feel like all of the staple supplies that you were looking for on the shelves were not there. I remember looking for black beans way back in the day, and it was impossible to find. Kidney beans, anything that you would make and be able to store for long periods of time, it feels like those things were not available. Now they are back in stock, but it's still just a good practice to be able to have lots of things on hand. And fresh, frozen, and canned food are all very equal in their nutritional values. And so, whereas I think at one time it was thought that the canning process actually destroyed nutrients, and what we found is that the nutrient values are very equivalent in all three of those different types of fruits and vegetables. The third tip is to buy salad greens that can also be cooked, such as spinach and arugula. So, for example, instead of buying something like romaine lettuce, which is not as versatile, it can't be cooked, whereas spinach and arugula can, that would be what would be suggested. That way you just have a little bit more versatility. If you're making, a soup, you can go ahead and throw in some spinach into that soup. Or if you're buying it and you have time to go ahead and make it within the first couple of days that you buy it, then you can go ahead and throw it into a salad. So arugula and spinach are very versatile greens and are very healthy as well. So if you don't eat them in the first few days, so the first few days, of course, are going to be when they're freshest, which is when you would eat them in a salad or in a bowl or something where you're having them fresh. You can go ahead and cook them and then use them in omelets or in grain bowls or as part of batch cooking, which is another tip that we like to suggest, is that if you're going to go ahead and make a meal, make a double batch, make a triple batch, go ahead and freeze different containers of that same dish, and that way you have it for later. Okay. So the fourth tip is to buy fruits and vegetables with a long shelf life, such as apples, oranges, grapefruit, cabbage, carrots, onions, things like that. So these are things that are going to be, if stored at a proper temperature in the refrigerator, your apples, your carrots, cabbage will need to be refrigerated, and they can be stored up to a month in the refrigerator. The other things like, citrus fruits will probably keep a little bit longer in the refrigerator, but in general, those don't need to be refrigerated, and onions certainly don't need to be refrigerated and can be stored on your counter up to a month. So thinking about things that are not going to be super perishable, like I just think of raspberries as an example. Whenever I buy raspberries, it's like the time starts a ticking as soon as we bring them in the door that we need to put them in something or else they're going to go bad. So thinking about a longer shelf life. Bananas are also a super versatile fruit and can be used as a sweetener, a natural sweetener without added sugars in a lot of different things. And so peeling and freezing bananas immediately to be used in smoothies, pancakes, and muffins. So if you're going to eat some fresh, go ahead and keep those out. However, going ahead and the majority of the bananas that you buy, going ahead and peeling them, they do need to be peeled before they're frozen, sticking those in the freezer, and then you can pull those out to be used in a lot of different things. On that website, Med Instead of Meds, that I mentioned earlier, there's a lot of different recipes that are included. And so these are some of the ones that are included. So the banana oatmeal pancakes are really, really good. The banana is used as a sweetener, and so there's no added sugar at all in that recipe. The banana granita with blueberries is basically like an ice cream. It's very, very creamy, and all that's in it is a frozen banana that's thawed just slightly, put in a food processor to make it really creamy, and then throw some blueberries over top of that. The banana nutmeg muffins are also something that you can make in a pinch have those for breakfast. Oatmeal with fruit and nuts. And then the fruit shot is also, that would be made with the fresh bananas. It's just another sort of savory, has some savory spices in it with a little bit of an Indian flair. So when you cook vegetables, assess what you will eat right away and then freeze the remaining for later. So go ahead and, cook them all, because they can't really be frozen. Vegetables can't be frozen unless they're cooked. But in the same concept that we talked about before with the greens, going ahead and cooking what you will eat, going ahead and making meals, batching those out, and then freezing them so that you have a meal ready to go later on. So now we're going to get into a little bit of physical activity. So one of the things that has kept me sane while I've been working from home is getting up from my desk and trying to take breaks throughout the day. I also have this nifty little Apple Watch that reminds me every hour if I don't get up. It actually reminds me to get up, and it's time to stand is what it says. And if I have not stood about 10 minutes before the hour, it will send me a little bit of a buzz on my wrist to remind me to get up and stand. Sometimes it's not possible if I'm in the middle of a meeting, but in general, it is a nice little cue, a reminder to get up from my desk. And so one of the things I would encourage us all to do is to eat our meal mindfully at a table away from our desk. I know that I myself am guilty about sitting at my desk or going and getting my food and then bringing it back down and sitting at my desk while I'm eating. Early on in the pandemic, my desk was in the middle of my kitchen. I thought, oh, this is a temporary thing. I don't really need to carve out a workspace that's dedicated, that's away from food. And what I was finding is that I was not even social distancing from my pantry. It was within 6 feet that I was able to go and grab a snack and come back and sit down. And I had to kind of make some stimulus control changes in my environment to kind of get me out of the kitchen. So I moved we have a basement in our home, moved my desk downstairs, and it's been a little bit, I now, when I'm ready to eat, have to make the mindful decision to stand up, go up to the kitchen, make myself lunch, force myself to sit down at the table, and do it in a mindful way. So I would encourage us all to do that if we're not doing that already. So the second poll is, do you think that your physical activity level has increased, decreased, or remained the same compared to before the pandemic? I will open up the chat just in case that poll does not pop up. Oh, Megan says she loves the banana oatmeal pancake recipe. Awesome. I love that one too. It's really, really good. And it actually doesn't have any flour. Not that there's anything wrong with flour, especially if it's whole wheat flour, but the oatmeal serves as the binder for that recipe. So it's really, really good. Okay, so it looks like a lot of us have decreased our physical activity since before the pandemic. Some of us have increased, which is awesome. Less walking in our commute. Absolutely, Megan. Yes. This is something that I just spoke with someone yesterday on the phone that they were, I think it was UNC Wilmington that they worked for. And they were like, you know what, my physical activity has basically come to a screeching halt because I'm not walking around campus. And she actually worked right on campus, whereas our office was a little bit off campus. But she just did all of her walking on campus, and it's really cut down on our physical activity. So even just thinking about getting up and going to the restroom, most of us have to go to the other end of our building in order to, use the restroom. And now we just walk, down the hall in our home. And so it's even a huge reduction in steps. And we really have to be very intentional to get our physical activity back to where it used to be. So thank you guys for responding to that. Awesome. So the eighth tip is to take movement breaks throughout the day instead of snack breaks. So where maybe when we used to be in the office, we'd get up and go make a cup of tea, or we'd get up and go, and get a snack or something like that, trying to get up and be mindful about our movement breaks. So this could mean doing one of these exercises. You guys are welcome to take a screenshot here. These are just some ones that I found that are super quick, just simple things that you can do at your desk, stretches, planks, different movements. But then the other thing is that one of the great things about being home is that perhaps we have a little bit more flexibility to just get up and go for a 10-minute walk if the weather's nice, and then come on back to our desk. Whereas maybe we didn't have that opportunity when we worked on campus. So taking the movement breaks throughout the day. The ninth strategy is to practice mindful eating to avoid boredom eating. And so in order to do that, it's important for us to assess how hungry or how satisfied are we. And so it's really tempting when we're just sitting at home and perhaps we're out of our routine and we, just have a bag of M&Ms sitting by our desk to just grab it and eat it, even when we're not hungry. So there's this scale 1 through 10 kind of represents how absolutely famished we can get. That's a 1, all the way up to I'm absolutely totally stuffed. It's post-Thanksgiving meal and I've just, eaten my entire yearly calories in one sitting. So, and everything in between. So what I want you to focus in on is the 3 to 6 range. So 3 is fairly hungry, stomach may begin to growl. 4 is a little less hungry, but beginning to feel hungry, slightly hungry. 5 is perfectly satisfied, right? So it's not full at all, but I am no longer hungry. I am satisfied. 6 is that I'm somewhat full, but I'm not yet uncomfortable. When we start to get 7 or higher, that's too much. And this is a really fine line depending on what we're eating, right? Depending on how long it's been since our last meal, depending on if we're having pasta or if we're having salad. I feel like it's just a fine tuning thing. And so what we want to do is we want to only eat when we're at a 3 or a 4. So we're fairly hungry, or our stomach is audibly rumbling, or we're beginning to feel slightly hungry. That's when we need to start eating. We do not want to wait until we're at a 1 or a 2, because if we wait that long, we're starting to feel hangry, right? Has anyone felt hangry? We're very hungry, stomach rumbling, feeling irritable. This is an unpleasant situation. And when we do that, what do we tend to do? When we wait that long, what do we tend to do? Are we able to eat in a mindful way? Are we able to take the time to prepare a healthy meal? Or do we literally just want to eat anything that is not pinned down? So go ahead and type for me in the chat box what you think about that. So we're starting to eat at a 3 or a 4. 5 or a 6 is when we want to stop. And this feels very different to some of us, depending on how we were raised. I know that meals were a big deal in my house growing up, and portion sizes were often very much larger than what they needed to be. And so I very rarely remember coming away from the dinner table feeling just satisfied or even somewhat full. I remember it was sort of this common practice that you just kind of eat, because my mom had made this nice dinner and we all wanted to enjoy it. And so it was a lot of retraining and resetting as I have become an adult into feeling satisfied and or feeling somewhat full and not uncomfortable. And that's a good place to stop, not waiting until 7, 8, 9, or 10. That's way too far. Megan said she tends to be a schedule person and eats at home at the same time, but needs to remind myself that I don't need to snack at 10 o'clock exactly, even if I'm not hungry. That's a very, very good point. We tend to get into a schedule, right? And even if we've eaten a breakfast that's slightly larger than what we typically would eat, that really could sustain us until lunch, we sometimes will we just get in the habit of snacking at 10. So we do. So it is just variable by the day, variable based on what we're eating, what time we're eating, but 3 or 4 eating, stopping eating at 5 or 6. And then the last thing is probably has the highest evidence-based basis for this particular strategy, and that is tracking. I just took an adult weight management class that just finished up. And once again, the top strategy that has been shown time and time again to help people achieve and maintain a healthy weight is to track what we eat and how much we move. And so some free apps that I would highly suggest are MyFitnessPal, Fitbit.com. So this is an app. You don't even have to have the device, but it will have the features for you to be able to track what you're eating and how much you're moving. Of course, if you had the Fitbit device, then that will track your steps and your movement. SparkPeople.com, MyNetDiary.com are also really good free apps. I find that most of our participants use MyFitnessPal and have really good success. That has a barcode scanner that you can actually scan the barcode of the particular food item that you're eating if it is a packaged food. And then you can put in how much you actually ate of that particular food item. So those are some great ones. Of course, paper and pencil, just the whole idea here is to just not eat in a mindless way, to be mindful about how much we're eating. And so in order to do that, writing it down or putting it in an app is just a great way for us to be more mindful. Okay. So some other resources that I just want to share. We posted a lot of working from home blogs way back last year, and we've continued to post blogs about healthy eating and physical activity. We probably post, I don't know, 10 per month from our team. And so these are just really great resources to check out. So if you go to esmmpreventdiabetes.com, that's one of our program websites, click on blogs. And then how to snack while working from home. Why should you still meal prep while working from home? Free ways to exercise at home. How can I exercise without going to the gym? Shopping for fruits and vegetables during a pandemic, and then work from home best practices. So those are just some really good work from home blogs, but there's also just other great ones about different products that our team has tried that we would, recommend or not recommend. Just lots of different variety of topics. So I just wanted to finish up to tell you about the 2 programs that our team runs through the NCALS and then the Department of Agricultural and Life Sciences, and Human Sciences. And the first program is the Eat Smart, Move More, Prevent Diabetes program. This program is specifically for those who are in the pre-diabetes range. So these are folks that don't have a completely normal blood sugar. but they don't already have diabetes. They're somewhere in the middle. And what we're trying to do is to prevent the progression to diabetes. So there's some certain risk factors that you would need to meet in order to be eligible for this program, but the cost is only $30 with a full refund for meeting attendance and tracking requirements. And this program is normally around $430. So this is some funding that we've received from at NC State to be able to deliver this program to North Carolinians. So really quick, it's a 12-month program. It's delivered in real time by a live registered dietitian instructor who's an NC State employee. Participants see and hear their classmates. We use a Zoom-like platform. It's called GoToTraining, but it's very similar. And the classes are meant to be interactive, engaging, fun, and just help each other out with learning different healthy strategies. Outside of class, participants are given one-on-one support from their instructor through the My Progress portal. And this is also where they track their weekly numbers for weight and physical activity and set a SMART goal and can see how they're doing toward meeting the goal of the program, one of the two main goals, which is a 5 to 7% weight loss. The other main goal is achieving 150 minutes of moderate to vigorous intensity physical activity per week. And so we as instructors provide support and encouragement to be able to help our participants get to those outcomes to be able to help them prevent diabetes. So planning, tracking, living mindfully, all of the things that we just talked about in the last 10 strategies are things that we cover in the program over a year long. So phase 1 is 18 lessons, then phase 2, less frequent, is 8 lessons. And so the idea is that we start off really strong support and then gradually taper the frequency with which we meet by the end of the year-long program. So there is an attendance requirement of 9 out of the first 18 classes in order to move on to phase 2. Each participant receives a workbook for both phase 1 and phase 2, as well as several incentives, including that meal planner and shopping list that I mentioned throughout the program to help to encourage attendance, because we know the more that someone attends the program, the better off they'll be in the end, the more successful that they'll be. The eligibility criteria for this program, again, this program is specifically for those who meet certain risk factors for being in the pre-diabetes category. So a BMI of at least 25 or 23 if of Asian descent. So anything lower than that, unfortunately, would not make you eligible. A recent A1C, so that A1C is a blood test that's done that basically measures your average blood glucose level over the last 3 months. And so if you've had an A1C of 5.7 to 6.4 or a fasting blood glucose 100 to 125, that would make you eligible. You don't have to have had a blood test. If no blood test is available, you can score a 5 or higher on the CDC risk test. It's just a series of 7 or 8 questions. And if you score a 5 or higher, that would also make you eligible regardless of blood test. No previous diagnosis of diabetes, and then of course a willingness to commit to a year-long program. And so to register, it's just a pretty simple process. It takes no more than 10 minutes. Go to the website, esmmpreventdiabetes.com. You will pay a $30 fee. Again, that's fully refundable if you meet those attendance and tracking requirements. And then you will be asked to either enter a recent blood test or complete that CDC risk assessment. So again, the next series begins the week of February 22nd for this program. So if you go to the website now, you'll see lots of classes, evening, lunchtime. There's a wide variety of classes on different days of the week to register for that program. Quickly, the second program that I wanted to mention is a little bit more general. So we don't have the same criteria to register for this program that we do for the Prevent Diabetes program. This is just for anyone who wants to learn healthy habits, maybe with a goal of weight loss, maybe without a goal of weight loss, doesn't have to be. But this program, because of telehealth, is covered at 100%. So it's 100% covered under preventive services under telehealth right now for Blue Cross Blue Shield and state health plan members. So it's basically free with the code GNC 2021. So make sure to jot that down. This is for anyone who's on your plan. So it's just a really, really great deal right now for those who are interested in this program. And this has been around a while. You probably have heard of this program. It's a 15-week weight management program delivered in real time by a registered dietitian. Same key elements that we use in the Prevent Diabetes program, the planning, the tracking, the living mindfully. There are 15 weekly sessions. These are typically 15 consecutive hour-long classes that meet at the same day and time each week for 15 weeks. So they're each an hour long. Also, one-on-one support is provided outside of class from the dietitian instructor. And it also is designed to interact with Fitbit. So both of the portals are designed to interact with Fitbit data if in fact you have a Fitbit. It's not required, however. So this is just a great place to get that one-on-one support outside of class. We do also provide incentives for this program. We provide a t-shirt for perfect attendance, and then also provide a journal for tracking purposes if an online app is not preferred, and then a workbook as well. So again, these classes will start the week of March 15th, and registration is open now at esmmwayless.com. We've had a lot of interest in this program since telehealth began covering it again. And so I would highly recommend that if you are interested in getting in a March series class, those classes are filling extremely quickly, even more quickly than we even thought. So feel free to go and after this session is over to go ahead and get into a class. We do have a lunchtime option and about 4 or so evening options open at this point. Okay, so that's all that I wanted to share. Thank you so much for your time and attention. And if there are any questions, I do have the chat box open. So feel free to type them in the chat box or. Okay, so Pam asked, are we able to get this recording and slide deck? I'm interested, but a little overwhelmed with the options. I totally get it. And yes, Britt did say that she was recording this lesson and will be sharing, this session, and she'll be sharing that, that link out with everybody. Any other questions? You are so welcome. Well, I'll hang out for another minute or so, but feel free to email me. That's probably the easiest thing, is just this administrator at esmmwayless.com. I monitor that email as well as my colleagues. So if I can't answer your question, we will definitely get you to the right person if you email that email address. So thanks everybody so much for your interest, and pass the word along to your colleagues as well, because anyone who's a member of the state health plan is covered for really either of these programs, either because they're a North Carolina resident or because they're a member of the state health plan at this time. Thanks everybody. I hope you have a wonderful day, and hopefully it'll get a little warmer so we can get outside and get some physical activity. Okay, so Ha asked, you may have talked about this, but could you explain briefly the difference between Eat Smart, Move More, Weigh Less and Eat Smart, Move More, Weigh Less 2? I did not actually, but I would love to explain the difference. So basically, Eat Smart, Move More, Weigh Less 2 is a continuation program of Eat Smart, Move More, Weigh Less. And basically, the Weigh Less 2 and Weigh Less 1 put together is the same content as the Prevent Diabetes program. It just doesn't have the same eligibility criteria. So it's meant to be about a full year of content and accountability and support, maybe a little bit less than that, but that's basically, and it just dives a little bit deeper into some of the content that we could talk about in the first part. Thank you, Tom, for coming. Appreciate it. Does that answer your question, Ha? You are welcome. And if you are interested in Waitlist 2, I did not mention this in the presentation because you do have to have completed part 1 in order to be eligible for part 2, but part 2 is available and it is also covered under telehealth. So I'm going to put the code, it's just GNC2 2021 is the code to register for the Waitlist 2 program. And to register for that program, you would just go to esnnwayless.com and then you'll see the little 2 across the top on the menu to register for that program. So again, it's just GNC2 2021, same thing, fully covered under telehealth for that program as well, if you've completed part 1. So thank you very much, Ha, for asking that question, because I know a lot of you have taken part 1 as well. Okay, everybody, thanks so much. Thank you, Britt. And I apologize for the confusion with the Zoom link at the beginning, but we made it, and Britt has recorded it so she can share any information that you maybe have missed. Thanks, everybody. Have a great day.